La identidad entre la creación de
The
depósitos
parallels between the creation of deposits and the issuance of unbacked banknotes. The traditional banking business went unnoticed by most citizens due to its subtlety. And in fact, economists did not understand it until a century ago, almost yesterday. This business consisted of creating unbacked deposits from nothing, the process we have just explained. And it gave rise to the expansions in ancient Greece, the crisis of Mithridates, that of Callistus in Rome, who was later Pope and a saint, the crises in Florence in the 14th century, the crisis that ruined all the bankers in Seville and the rest of the Mediterranean cities in the 16th century, and so on. Well, in the 17th century, bankers discovered a new kind of business parallel to this one and with identical effects. It consisted of the following. When people deposited money, gold at that time, bankers gave them a deposit certificate, a receipt. I have received from John Doe so many grams of gold. Well, at the beginning of the 17th century, bankers discovered a new kind of business, issuing certificates for more gold than was deposited. The Bank of Stockholm, for instance, began to operate in this way at its inception. This practice is more visible than the other. As the book shows, from an economic standpoint, the issuance of unbacked deposits is in effect identical to the issuance of unbacked bills. The accounting entries are exactly the same. There is only one difference. In the traditional business of issuing deposits, the customer is given a checkbook, and when he makes a payment, he must write down the amount. In the business of issuing paper currency, or unbacked deposit certificates, people pay in a different way. I owe 1,500. Okay, here are 10 100s and 10 50s. I hand over certificates until their amount coincides with what I owe. From a juridical standpoint, before bankers in the business of issuing unbacked deposits of fiduciary media obtained the privilege of legally acting in this way, and I am saying business today with a grain of salt, they were committing the crime of misappropriation. Bankers had to keep the tantundum in cash always available to depositors, and if they appropriated 90% of it to lend to third parties, they were committing a crime. Bankers in the business of issuing unbacked certificates commit different crimes, specifically those of fraud and counterfeiting, because they are saying, I have received from John Doe so much money, when they have not received it. Well, since people became accustomed to paying with certificates rather than gold coins, which they had to carry in a pouch, etc., as long as there was confidence in the bank, the certificates, that is, the paper currency, circulated as if they were gold. Fortunately, on July the 19th, 1844, Peel's Bank Charter Act was enacted in the United Kingdom, where, thanks to the sound theory of what is known as the currency school, the issue of bank certificates or paper bills not backed 100% was prohibited. This was a tremendous success of economic theory, and hats off to the politicians of the period and to the representatives in Parliament who identified the origin of the disruptions which had been recurring since the Napoleonic Wars, and included artificial expansion, financial crises, and economic recessions. They identified the origin correctly and prohibited the issuance of paper currency not backed 100%. However, it was a Pyrrhic victory, because they forgot to also demand 100% backing for the issuance of deposits. Why did they forget? Because at that time, economists were not sure deposits formed part of the money supply exactly as bills do. But be careful. In 1844, they were unsure, but it is important to observe that 300 years earlier, when banks were not in the business of issuing paper currency, Luis de Molina and the Spanish scholastics had already discovered that demand deposits formed part of the money supply. What a shame! If that knowledge the Spanish scholastics possessed had not been forgotten, the Peel Act would also have prohibited a fractional reserve on deposits. And that law, which has provided the foundation for the entire financial system of the Western world, from the time of the Industrial Revolution until the present day, would have prevented all the recurring crises and cycles of boom and recession which have affected Western, poorly named, market economies.